Good evening, good evening. Here we are tonight, All Ports Motorsport Supercars NZ. This is round 3 of our V8 Championship. We are here at Oulton Park over in the lovely England. Sunshine, water glistening. It's all looking pretty fantastic out there. Got a nice aerial view at the moment of the complete racetrack with the cars going around. And yeah, tonight in the broadcasting lounge, I don't have Shane, but I have got this other guy, another local guy to Christchurch along with me, so we'll see how we get on. It is Corey Kitchen, how we going?
Oh, Dougie, how are you? I'm good, thank you very much. And yeah, it's good to have a couple of days rest after a big Sunday and off to England for this big race.
Sunday was certainly a massive day for both of us. It was a number of hours dedicated to giving the people at home our version of the Bathurst 1000 and the V8 Supercars before we run up to this weekend, where the real V8 Supercars will be tackling the Bathurst 1000 on Sunday. So it'll be an interesting one to see. New cars out there, Corey, the Gen 3 Supercars. A lot of ups and downs with them throughout the season. How do you think they're going to fare tackling the mountain?
I reckon reliability might be the key. Yeah, I reckon whoever's got the most reliable car is probably going to win it.
I think you're probably right suggesting that the person with the most reliable car, or who's racing the safest, will certainly be some of the ones coming out on top. If we look back at hearing some of the dramas we've heard through the year about steering rack failures and just seeing how fragile they are when they appear to have seemingly small rubs against each other or against curbs, bouncing sideways. It all seems to be rather detrimental to the car's health. So it's certainly going to be a rather taxing 6 to 7 hours worth of racing for those guys. Hopefully it's not a race where we don't see, well, no one finish.
It has happened before, definitely.
Yeah. But we are tonight, our Div 1 guys here racing at Oulton Park, and here's a wee bit of race info for you folks at home. Gives a layout of the circuit, and that's running in a clockwise direction from that little red indicator there at the top. That's the start-finish line there, and it runs in a clockwise direction. It's just a touch over 4 kilometres long, and the looks like we're in a place called Little Budworth there out in England. This is the international race circuit without the chicane, so the V8s get to go and stretch their legs down out through the back. It's going to be really interesting to see how everyone gets on. What's the racing format tonight there, Corey?
Well, they just finished their 15-minute qualifying, so they're going to go and there's 2 heat races tonight. The first one being 14 laps, and the second one will be 20. So I'm sure somebody I've seen before this could take compulsory tyres, is it?
Yep. So standard for each race is a compulsory pit stop where you must take 4 tyres. That keeps things
Fairly
rather
decent grid. I think we've got 29 gridding up.
Yeah, there's certainly a fair few of them out there tonight. Welcome back Rehan here, who was racing the GT3s last week, and he's back here with us in the V8s. It's been a couple of seasons without seeing him, but there he is, and he's managed to qualify on top tonight on pole. The hunt's going to be on for Mike Robinson behind him, who's always ever fast, and those guys have had some pretty hard battles over the years. There's Mikey there. Couple more down. So Darren Lobb in third. He hasn't gridded just yet. And then we've got Logan Barnett there in fourth. Bruce Tannock fifth. Daniel Hedeshire there in sixth. Brodie Scott in seventh over Zachary there in eighth. Blake Greenhall in ninth over Connor Nixon there in 10th. So pretty packed top 10. And some very fast guys just outside of that. will bring us back to the front as we've only got 5 seconds before the green flag will drop.
Yeah, no, never been here, so be interesting to see how the boys take it into turn 1. Big field, and we're away.
Oh, poor jump from Rehan. He's dropped back to about 5th there already. Everyone getting through pretty cleanly as Mike Robinson leads us into Cascades. It's tight. There's one couple of cars off in the stands there.
Oh, yeah,
Looks like
got a couple
Tony
of cars off.
Lynch and Craig Mason off track.
One of the fully floored cars, I think, taking a hit there as well.
So super tight here. Looking off the back of Mike Robinson's car here. Coming down and past the chicane and coming back up the hill over Water Tower. There's one long stream of cars.
It is a glorious sign, Dougie. That is a great camera.
It is a
Great
very good
shot.
camera. We'll have to go back and look at that one again. Still Mike Robinson over Logan Barnett. Rehan managing to get himself back up into 3rd as they come down into the penultimate final corner. Final corner here as the guys that's climbing right back up beside pit lane entry.
Couple of cars
and the
heading into
start finish
pit lane
line.
early.
And that's a monstrous sound of those V8s roaring by. That was something else right there. So bring up the changes of places so we can see who's dropped off from where. So Rehan from the start qualified 1, and he's now just been able to get himself up alongside Logan Barnett.
Tony Lynch and Daniel Hedershire are 2 of the cars that got caught up in that early incident there, so they've fallen back to 14 spots and 22 spots respectively for them.
There you go. So yes, we have got so Darren Lobb was also one of those. He was near the front. There he is there. He's down 8 spots into P11. Bit further down, Tony Lynch was a big one who lost out on that. Dirty Diesel's car, as we've got it possibly Brett O'Keefe off in the track in the background there. So Tony Lynch down 11, Daniel Hedershire there looking really worse for wear, down 19 spots into 25th. Big gains so far. We've got this man here, Taylor Mitchell.
He's always good for a good gain through the middle, isn't he?
Certainly is. So new livery on that vehicle for Taylor as well. Not as much the jump flex entry that we're used to seeing in the past. A new sponsor on the side of there. Looks like Rhodes Plant and Excavation. So maybe that's a new sponsor for him moving forward with what's going to be his BMW Racing Series debut coming up very shortly, if he hasn't already.
A tasteful choice of colours for that. It does look very striking.
Daniel Nolan back here in 17th spot, giving Dion DeGraaf a good pushing along there. Battles up here at the front though. We've got Blake Greenhall getting hunted down by Jason Cossey, and similar gap margin there with Darren Lobb and behind them as they come down into the penultimate final corner there. Nice space given by everyone there. It's certainly not a track I'd ever thought I would have seen the V8s racing at.
Yeah, I've never been here myself in a V8, but I've seen them here quite often. It's actually quite a popular track for the V8s. Anything with passing opportunities in these cars is a good track, and also tracks with flying.
And heaps to watch, heaps to watch. Connor Nixon, our unofficial winner from Sunday's big race, disqualified at the end because he decided to do the whole race by himself as a team event. Came along just for the fun of it. Started last, finished first, and completed all 161 laps by himself. It was a monstrous effort.
Yeah, monumental effort by Connor.
Yep.
And it's good to see him backing up on Tuesday.
As indeed. And he's currently hunting down Zachary Blossbub here in front of him. Alpha Venturi Racing on the side of his car. Up here at the front, Mike Robinson slowly getting chipped at away by the young Rehan behind him. Gap margin as they're coming across the start-finish line there. Once again is sitting at 700ths of a second. If we have a look from Rehan's car looking forward, this might give people a bit of an idea of the dynamics of this track. It's certainly not smooth. It goes from being on camber to off camber, and you see Rehan just starting to get that car wiggling a little bit sideways and using every little bit of extra turf that they've put on to the side of the trackways there. Might going pretty deep, just a little bit of a lock up from him, and that gap margin now down to half a second. Rehan might be in a good striking position here to get into the draft. Just on draft there, but having to get down heavy onto the brakes to come through this floating corner. This is your favourite corner here on that static camera as they go through where Water Tower is. This double right-hander is very hard to negotiate, trying to find those double apexes without running out too wide onto the grass as it narrows up at the end. And we come back down into the penultimate final corner here, which is a very low speed entry. Off camber, floats out wide. You see Rehan just picking up the gas a little bit too soon. It just starts to get the twitch on. It'll start heating up those tyres. But we're already 6 laps into this 14 lap race. These guys have still got to come through and do their pit stops as well. So we've got a few cars coming through the pits at the moment as we just have a quick look at Leon Weir in the SDI entry Mustang there. He's gone past a few guys who have pitted in front of him, so he's currently sitting in 8th spot, up 6 from where he was at before. Look at the chaos that is pit lane.
Yep, I'm just staring at the data currently at the moment, just trying to see who's going to come out on top here, and it's all pretty tight at the moment.
Sure is. So Connor Nixon out, Bruce out just ahead of him. So this is the sort of the first grouping of the bunch of guys who are towards the front that have done their pit stops now. So those other guys will be coming around through the towards the back part of the circuit now, seeing it only takes 1 minute and 24 seconds currently for these guys to lap round. Rehan's managed to just get past Mike Robinson here.
We currently get Bruce Tannock is the first of the cars that has pitted. And so when he pitted, he was in 4th. So we'll interesting to see where he pops back out with, I think, Rehan taken to the lane now.
And I have
Mike
Robinson coming into the pits, followed in by Zach Vry, Vesblom, Brody Scott, Blake Greenhall. So let's have a jump on Bruce Tannock, seeing he was one of the first guys that came out of the pits there. Across the front of his nose. Mike's dropped and he's rolling. He's heading towards pit exit.
But Craig may have got the jump on him, I think. Craig Mason. No, Mike's got over Craig there. Craig hasn't pitted. I think he might have just been a bit further back in the pack there.
Yeah. So there we go. So yeah, Craig hasn't stopped. So there's officially just 4 seconds gap margin there between Bruce Tannock and Mike Robinson. But this is so crazy down here. Look at that 3 wide. That's not going to work. Oh, someone's died.
Black's car is flying through the air.
That was monstrous. I believe there was Dion de Graaf. only data I've got there is Dion going off track, and he's been picked off by someone. So we'll have a squiz and see if that's what that was quickly. So just running wide and just getting across the front of Tony Lynch, and then picked up by one of the header side cars there. So lucky to have landed on his wheels and seemingly not too damaged. There's Rehan leaving the pits, and Mike's been able to just get by him. 6 laps to go, but Rehan had been able to capitalise off getting past him a few laps before he went into the pit, so he is very close there, and he is actually all of just half a second behind.
Yeah, Dion is managing to limp the car back to the pits at the moment, so he's managed to get the car going after at least a 20-metre leap in the air.
This is a bit of a poor one here. This is Darren Lobb, who started up in P3, just sat there for 50 seconds in the pit lane, so he's gone and obviously copped a 40-second time penalty, speeding into pit lane. Tight battle here between Jason Cossey, Brody Scott, Taylor Mitchell still. Headershire there in the draft of Steve Bradford. Skeleton Sim Sports there. He's done enough to slink on by. Can he keep it under control coming out? Nice stuff.
Looks like the last of our cars coming into pit lane now to take their compulsory pit stops.
Man, that's so wild through there.
I think a few corners at this place seem to look pretty wild. It's definitely making for some pretty good racing.
Certainly is. It's very intensive. So Simon Heathershire and Craig Mason leaving the pits there, and that's all of our field through the pit lane. 9 laps into this 14-lap race before we go to a 20-lap feature race after this. Sean McNamara giving Peter Vandenberg from Misfits Racing the tow along. Sean's not much one for looking at his mirrors, but Peter's right on him.
Hey, Sean's been fairly quiet tonight, and I haven't seen him floating around the broadcasting lounge at all. He must be taking things fairly seriously, I think.
He does from time to time, and it's good to see. He certainly puts himself into the focus zone, and he goes and tucks himself away in a quiet little corner with a couple of the others, so it's not too loud, and so he can focus on doing his best racing.
A couple of misfits here and an SDI sandwich.
Yeah, and Leon just loosening that sandwich grip a wee bit by falling off the back of that one.
He would be the bottom bit of bread, wouldn't he, Leon?
He certainly would. So so there we go. So Rehan's been able to get past Mike Robinson then again, just coming out past pit exit. Managed to just use enough of holding it tight to cruise on by. He's managed to do that very well controlled. Great bit of a drive there from the young guy from Aussie.
Yeah,
Jeremy Maxwell and Steve Bradford having some fun there.
The top lap times, there's not much in between the top 2 cars and then the next 2 cars as well.
No, it is all very ridiculously tight. It's quite crazy to see actually. I must say we have make a quick shout out to Andy Upton, who's joined us in the broadcasting lounge live chat this evening. He said evening gents, so good evening to you there, Andy. Let us know who you're wanting us to keep an eye on during the race, and we'll flick from them from time to time and give you some updates. Connor Nixon very close to the back of Zachary here. Both those guys up 3 and 4 positions respectively.
Taylor Mitchell he's up 13 positions. Sean McNamara up 6. Jeremy Maxwell's up 9. And Shane McLeod, he's another one he's up 9 spots as well.
And yeah, good evening to Laz. Laseth is young Rehan's father. Usually found not too far away from being able to pat him on the back of the head and give him the thumbs up, tell him he's done a good job. Reads out a lot of the race statistics and data as the race goes on and helps him plan some race strategy, and really mostly just sit back and make sure he keeps a cool head and his eyes forward. And, even though he's been able to get past Mike, the gap margin hasn't really changed too much. Still a half a second margin there from Mike to Rehan. Taylor Mitchell has fallen down 1 spot possibly there. Oh, no, he's got it back again now, as him and Blake Greenhall battling it out. Taylor now looking like he might be able to size up Leon Weir. Laz has said that he's not actually in behind Rehan this evening. Maybe Mum's doing the duties again today. Lace's enjoying the opportunity to stretch out across the couch and watch the viewing here from the live stream.
How good. The whole family being involved, eh? The young man is just going to go from strength to strength.
Sure is. Sean McNamara getting his defensive drive on as Peter Vanderberg's had a bad moment and put it into the wall there, and hard enough that he's had to tow out of that one. So a bit of reprieve for Sean as he sits there in 9th spot, up 6. Zachary's still doing a great job holding off Connor Nixon here. 2 laps to go, that's happening there. This battle here between Jeremy Maxwell and Steve Bradford back in 18 and 19 is still cooking. Craig Mason and her teammate Brett O'Keefe having some fun together.
Yeah, they've got a good rivalry then too. And BJ has had a wee bit of time off over the last couple of weeks, so it'd be good to be back and getting one over Craig, I reckon.
It's incredibly close there.
I don't even know where to look. Everywhere I'm looking on my end, I'm just seeing guys just having a good time racing together.
Yeah. Taylor Mitchell just getting a wee bit wide out of that corner before the hairpin there. Connor's done enough to squeeze on by, but breaking traction there. Zachary might have a bit of a run to be able to have a look. We're looking down the inside. Connor's turned in. No room for you there. So that is a pass. Roger Forbert, always a racer who tends to find himself near or in great vicinity to Sean McNamara, who is just ahead of him there. But that SDI sandwich certainly hasn't let off, as the soggy bit of bread Leon has managed to crawl himself right up onto the back of that one, and he might be looking to unpip Roger from that top 10 finishing spot, as we have white flags come up as our lead guys are now all on the final lap.
Yeah, looks like Mike's fallen off the back of Rehan a little bit now.
Yep, that margin from him to Rehan now nearly out to 1 second, so doubled what they had earlier there before. Leon in very close striking range here now, and close enough. Early draft. Roger going super defensive coming into here. Leon wanting to brake early and get back on the gas and try and get another quick draft along. See if he can get something done before the double right-hander. Not close enough just there, and that is Rehan across the line in first, with Mike Robinson finishing in second. Logan Barnett with a strong run through that race, finishing up one spot from where he started, along with Bruce Tannock. Connor Nixon, first one with some good numbers beside him, up 5 spots to 5. Zachary Vosblom there into P6, up 2. Brody Scott, solid run through the evening. No change of position for him, but that's also just as good. Now he's got an opportunity to look at jumping some at the start. Jason Cossey's out of there, but he finished in there 8th. McNamara into 9th, and Roger Forbert hanging on to the 10. Leon's out of there. He finished in 11th over Blake Greenhall, who's gone for a wee tiki tour over the jump. Have a quick squiz at that. It's a bit of a fun aspect of the raceway here. Get a bit of a run up and then a turn across the grass.
Oh, Balaki. That was beautiful.
Fun times.
I get that at 10. He landed on his wheels. You just can't go wrong there.
And that's it. So, 5-minute warm-up now about to take place. Last week we had no one from Div 2 at Bathurst go and take to the track. No, it was Sandown, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Sandown. No one took to the track to go and try any setup changes or practice their race starts.
What's the matter with it, Mike? You had a little face.
But not Connor. Looks like Connor's going to go and get the wheels warm.
Yeah. I can hear Rehan in the background throwing some salt at Mike. Dad's not behind him, so he's ready to throw some salt. Asking where his pace was gone. I would love it. People at home a bit of a chance to see what people might be struggling with on that first lap out of the box.
That camera angle's back again.
It is. It's all the arms.
Very still here.
I'm going to make this annoyingly busy for a second. There we go.
Yeah, if anyone's watching the stream and you're actually in your car, you could do what Jeremy Maxwell's doing and try and get it sideways for us to something to look at, I reckon. Have a look outside the car. Yeah, we could make these warm-ups expression sessions.
We could do. We could judge people on their ability to do wicked burnouts.
Who can hold it round the corner and keep it? Best save.
Yeah, no, that was definitely me backing up there, Sean, so no worries. It was a good battle. Thanks. No, you can't.
It seems to be a flurry of cars going on track now.
Yeah. Rehan's not doing any expression session. He's just out there chipping away at apexes, just making sure that he's put enough rubber on each of those. This man here, we should have a chit-chat about him for sure.
He is down below.
Dano here, one of the boys in Aussie, Dane Northdirth, and he has Dane's sim supports. And if you're wondering what that might mean in the world of iRacing, with people sitting at home with their racing simulators, who might be new to the game, as you'd say, and Dane offers a service where it will help walk people through those initial stages of checking that your graphics settings are optimized for your from your PC to what you can get best out of in sim, and right through to helping you set up your triple monitors, single monitors, making sure that your field of view is bang on for what you're wanting to get the best view from. Sounds a bit technical, and I suppose it is, because if you don't have it right, it can give you a sense of speed that you're crawling along at snail's pace when you're doing 200 kilometres an hour, or it might give you the impression that you're doing 200 kilometres an hour, that you look like you're only doing 50.
Yet I can assure you that that is actually a thing, and once you get it dialed in the sim, it becomes a lot easier. So Dane helping people get their lap times down and putting them up with the faster guys, and yeah, that's pretty cool. Nice work, Dane.
It certainly is. I'm
Good
really
luck with
hoping
everyone.
that Rehan can get off the line nice and cleanly this time and show these guys what pace he's had from in the past and why he's a Scops driver. This being our Div 1 class, these are some of the fastest guys between New Zealand and Australia taking place on iRacing. As the lights come up, and we are away now.
Another cracker start from Mike. So getting that Mustang off the line fairly well today. Bruce managing to get up the inside of Rehan and a little bit of door running.
Not a corner you want to go off there. We've seen people steamroll off there in the past at a great rate. But this is looking all very, very close.
Bruce, he's slipping back a few positions now. He's got Connor hard on him.
A little bit of
Bit of
mess
smoke
there.
up the back. Car around. Yeah.
There's your view, mate. Quarterback.
There it is. Listen to that sound of them V8s flying past, and that's a long snake. Someone going a bit wide down the bottom of the hill there. Still Mike
Yeah.
Robinson and up in front of Rehan.
Yep. And
Logan
yeah,
Barney.
a few cars off earlier on has created some few small gaps there in between. So from Mike there in first, 400ths of a second ahead of Rehan at the moment. Similar margin back from Rehan to Logan. And then just a little bit of a stretch from Logan to Bruce. Connor Nixon onto the back of Bruce. He's engaged a slingshot. Draft is kicking in nicely. Be interested to see if he can do enough to get down into the braking section here and be able to get on by. Not just this time round.
I was just looking here, with Taylor Mitchell seemed to have dropped off 15 spots.
Yeah, Taylor's already gone through and done his pit stop by the look of it, rolling through.
Alright.
10-second pit stop for him there, so a splash of gas in the 4 tyres. Peter Vanderberg has already been through as well and done his, so maybe some early damage. Pardon me, Tony Lynch has had to tow to pit lane, I'm guessing. Yeah, he's had to jump there, so we'll have a look at why that took place. I think actually Tony's gone now, so let's have a see what happened to Tony that caused his night to end up. Blown motor there. So Tony Lynch is actually off track here. This is one that we saw in the background, just avoiding car sideways. Oh, so that's straight into the side of Taylor Mitchell, then got turned by one of the fully floored cars. That damage on the front has obviously been exasperated.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate night for Tony. He had to retire the car. We've still got Mike, a Rehan up the front of the field. Rehan knows how to keep the pressure on. He's going to wait for the right moment. He's going to try and get around Mike.
Do you reckon Mike's got his GoPro stick sticking out far enough that Rehan won't be able to sneak up the inside?
I reckon he has, yeah. That's incredible work to be holding onto the car at these sorts of speeds, as well as holding the stick out the window.
Very good. Rehan just checking his pace up a wee bit, maybe just saving a wee bit of tyre energy for another look at it later on. Slip back into a rhythm. We're on board here with Zachary Westblom, who's in P5 currently. Behind him he has Jason Cossey and Roger Forbert. Connor Nixon down 3 spots from where he had started off, back to 8th, and he's got Sean McNamara, who finished 9th in the last race, still sitting there in 9th. Blake Greenhall behind him, sniffing out any drama that may come to light. Back down through the back straight. Rehan dragged Mike back in again. Logan Barnett on the super hard charge here. Looking at the battles taking place ahead of him, I just don't think he's quite got the pace of the 2 guys ahead of him. And yeah, just an update on the live chat. Laseth saying that Mike is even quicker this season, and it's quite interesting to see because Mike's been absent from the Supercars NZ Championship runnings of the last couple, fairly similar timing to when Rehan departed actually, so Mike was doing some family stuff, and I'm guessing, oh, there's a big one that's off there for Logan.
Yeah, I'm sure Logan Barnett, he's a name that rings a bell from early days of Supercars NZ too in the V8s.
And look at that, so from the 3rd drop down there into 8th spot, and maybe another one down here in the braking zone. Yep, out wide, Darren Lobbin underneath him. Now glued onto the back, so just so yeah, going back to Mike taking the opportunity to have some off time from the racing, but I'm guessing he must have still been getting on there and just having some quiet time racing at home and that. So yeah, he's certainly sharpened up. Maybe that's why he's got the Monster Energy livery on the side of his car as opposed to his normal business livery.
You reckon he might have had...
Or maybe he's now just really into drinking Monsters.
I think it may have helped. I mean, Cam Waters goes alright, you know.
Yeah.
No, good on you, Mike. I remember having some good racing with Mike around Bathurst.
I want to stay with this battle, but I also want to have a flick through and see what happens happening with other people as well. So Connor's come into the pits, lap 6 of 20. We've got Craig Mason up 9 spots into P12, so he's had a very good recovery drive this time through. Stefan Adams, we didn't cover him in the last session at all, but here he is. He's up 4 spots into P15. Those 4 spots possibly because of the guys he's gone past in pit lane. But yeah, big thanks to Stefan again for the final round of the endurance over the weekend that was put on by Simblax. He's having some fun here battling with Ryan Cottrell. And that's a cracker of a profile picture there for him.
Oh, Sal. Oh, that brings back some memories, eh?
It does indeed, yep.
You know, and probably around that same time I was being introduced to this crap.
Yep.
Via Conquer Touring Cars on a console.
Yes, yes.
My love for virtual car racing began.
This is Cole Buchan following teammate Dion de Graaf around, who had a bit of a poor run in the last session, but is up 8 spots now into P21. Darren Lobb's been the hard charger this session, 13 spots, similar to Ryan Cottrell. He finds himself in 7th spot, chasing Roger Forbert. Bruce Tannock now with the now being unleashed a little bit from some of the earlier confines of traffic, is finding his pace coming back up a little bit.
Apparently Connor Nixon is the first of our cars that have taken pit stop, so we've still got 15 cars to file through the pits. So we'll see some numbers starting to sort of even out a little bit in the next wee while, when people are going to be working out when they're going to want to get into the pits and take their fuel. If they need fuel, I wouldn't imagine you would for 20 laps, but you need your tyres. And I'd imagine a track like this would be eating them up.
Certainly would be. Yeah, as far as fuel goes, it's always just a matter of working out how long your pit stop for your 4 tyres is going to be, calculating that fuel drop during that time period, so you can get away with maybe sneaking in, 6 to 8 litres, which is 6 to 8 litres less than you can start with, so your car's a little bit lighter. Some guys don't like it. They prefer to keep that extra bit of gas in the car. They like the weight over the rear wheels. In their mind, they believe it helps their traction. It stops the car bagging up so much. So, good battles taking place here for 1st and 2nd and 3rd and 4th. Brody Scotch, McNamara there for 9th and 10th.
Mac has made his way up into the top 10.
Yep. So McNamara there started 9th this race, and still sitting there at 9th, so he'll be wanting to hold off that one there. May want to fake an entry to pit lane, see if we can throw Brody off the next one, go for an undercut.
It looks like the first little Rehan coming into the pits.
Yep. So Rehan's come through on that one, and Roger Forbert also in behind him, taking the opportunity to do that. Sean McNamara has followed Roger in, so we'll just see how close they are on the the way out from each other. So nice quick drop there from Rehan, bang on that 10, just over 10 second, which is good. Rogie nearly 10 and a half, and Sean a little bit longer there, 11.23. So Connor was one of the first ones there, and he's managed to. So he's come out still behind Rehan, a couple of spots still in front of him. Rehan coming up into the hairpin, and looking to be maybe about 6 seconds behind him.
Apparently, so Mike Robinson's last lap was the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yep.
And what would you be thinking? You're pulling out fast times. You want to stay out there for a few more laps. What do you reckon? How's he going to react to what Rehan's done by going into the pits?
I would say he'd have to. He would be best to look at coming in as soon as possible. I'm actually surprised he hasn't come in this time through, and the reason for that was because Rehan was only half a second off his pace before. Now it's allowed Rehan this lap to get his tyres well and truly up to 10. So if Mike's pit stop time is similar or less, he's still going to be disadvantaged on that first lap out with slightly colder tyres.
So this flurry of pit stops has definitely shaken up the list a little bit, with still at least looks to be 4 cars that haven't taken their compulsory pit stop yet. Just down to 10 laps to go now.
It is indeed. And that's Ryan Cottrell getting his Mustang loose in front of these two guys that have just battled their way in and out of pit lane together. So Zach well and truly still glued to the back of Bruce Tannock's car there. Mike Robinson coming up and still pushing on for another lap. So Mike's last lap this time round was a 25 flat.
He's out there in fresh air, so
Yep.
I mean, if he's this lap before was a 24, so
and a 24.8 for Darren, so he's still getting pace out of those tyres. Rehan coming around, this time crosses over the line. What does he bring up for us? Well, there you go, a 24.1, so not 900ths of a second faster than Mike's previous time. So if I was Mike and I had data and I saw that, I would certainly be coming in for the pits in a desperate hurry, and I'd be hoping that all it needs to do is take tyres and there's no extra fuel going into that car.
yeah, that's right, Doug. You'd definitely be hoping you've got a race engineer there sitting behind you, helping you out.
This is I was going to say this is a pretty good charge here from Ryan, but he hasn't come through the pits yet. Sitting there with a nice few names up there from the top, but he's still going to take his, and he'll end up falling back a wee ways to probably somewhere around the late teens there once he comes through. Still a bit of a tight battle pack here, just outside the top 10, but with those 3 cars still to pit, that might change a little bit. Sean still doing his best out there, currently following Daniel Hedishire, and at the moment holding off Brody Scott. So what's happening with young Mike? He still hasn't come through on that lap either. Previous lap time a 25 1/4 of a second on that one. Darren still lapping pretty quick on his used tyres there, so he's actually making up some margin there and some spaces. Probably not enough to warrant staying there, possibly bringing himself up into the top 5 after he comes through, looking at the time gap back to those guys. So what's Mike going to do this time round? Bit of a lift, and we're bringing it across towards pit lane. Hits it pretty hard. Gets it onto the pit limiter. Stopped coming in. Darren still pushing on for another lap. Mike Robinson currently in there, while Craig Mason is sitting in there. He's been in there currently for just over 3 minutes, so something's happened with him, and that'll be him looking like his night's done. Rehan cruising on by the start-finish line now. Mike dropped at a 9.93, so very quick time, but I think he's just stayed out there a little bit too long.
Yeah, it looks to be that way. And lost a little bit of time to Rehan.
Yep, so he's come out nearly 2 seconds behind Rehan. Fresh tyres now, you'll be slowly building those up. They certainly will, they'll take the whole lap to come up to being on temperature, or if not maybe a little bit longer, maybe just after about a lap and a half. At the moment now, he's gone through a few corners and a couple of breaks, so they'll be coming up a wee bit, but coming down this long back straight here, a lot of cool air going back into the car can cool those tyres off pretty dramatically. So just hear that rear end walking a wee bit coming over through there, but actually doing pretty well to judge that on the car. Rolled out nice and early for this double, little bit too much speed, and that was possibly tyre temp or entry speed carried in. He wasn't able to bring it back across to that second apex, but he has been able to bring down nearly 0.04 of a second on Rehan ahead of him, bringing it down to 1.4 of a second. Darren Lobb's still out there chewing away on those tyres.
Yeah, I was going to say, with there's 6 laps to go, and now Rehan's just got to play that get it home, try and get it home safe. Mike, all he wants to do is catch up, so bit of a battle to see who's going to make a mistake or who's going to get it.
And of course, these are all the things as race drivers that you're trying to balance out throughout the race. So Rehan knows he's in first. Especially because regardless if Darren doesn't come in, he'll then be penalised for not stopping. So Rehan will take the P1 for this. But he's got to be nice and clean on his tyres. There's still 6 laps to go. There's no point in him pushing and hurting the tyres, because he can do that during being a bit more defensive, while Mike is currently really pushing hard on the tyres. He's then still got to have tyre energy to be able to make a move on Rehan, and Rehan won't have to do much to position the car in particular areas to defend that. As we see, Mike has now brought that gap margin down to 0.06 of a second, so again chewing out about another 0.05 of a second over that previous lap, and the fastest lap now goes to Mike, nearly a 24 flat, 24.04. Previous fast lap for Rehan was a 24.66. Considering Darren ahead of him is on a 24.7 on used tyres, it's a very, very good effort, but he certainly needs to come in to get that pit stop done.
Yeah, just having a squiz at the championship points, so they're pretty correct, are they?
Yep, they should be pretty correct and updated, and penalty points
Mike
applied.
Robinson is current leader, so he's in a good position at the moment to probably still hold on to that, with Rehan sitting in 4th at the moment in the championship, so may not be too much of a change if it finishes the way it is right now, but any little bit will definitely help.
Yep. So Darren's in there now. Sean still hasn't been able to recover much from his drive. Leon's been able to get by him. Darren's sitting in there for quite a while. We're at 14 seconds now, 15 seconds now, 17, 18. I reckon he's had an absolute average and sped on the way into pit lane. That's him at 26 seconds. 30 seconds there. He's certainly made a Kuma of that on his entry to pit lane. We'll have a quick look at his entry. See if he lights up his tyres at all.
Oh, there was a Kuma of that is gonna live on with me forever.
So a bit
I
of a
love it.
chirp on the tyres, but yeah, 50 seconds. So he certainly has. He's been stung with a 40-second time penalty there. 4 laps to go. Mike's brought that time gap down to 300ths of a second. Zachary Vesplom's still sitting underneath that 200ths of a second gap to Bruce Tannock. So that battle for first and second and third and fourth is still well and truly taking place. Logan Barnett is sticking in pretty close with Connor, who's still holding on to his 5th place from the start.
Yeah, there's been a couple of drivers that have made 10 plus, 10. So Jeremy Maxwell and Ryan Cotter have both gained 10 positions in the race.
Whew. Indeed. Bruce just getting it a little bit wrong coming out through what's turns essentially 1-2 and has now dropped back to 6 spots. So that's opened up Zach to take P3, and that'll excite Connor into thinking he might be able to do something with 3 laps to go to get himself onto the podium. Don't think they'll have enough in them to bring back the 10-second gap ahead of them to Mike Robinson and Rehan.
And Mike right up on the back of Rehan now, putting a little bit of pressure on. Pressure tyres on the Monster Mustang as well, Dougie. So
yep,
we're in for a good final few laps.
Rehan putting it mid-track, holding that line. That's what I said earlier. He's not going to have to do much to hold a defensive line against Mike. Mike just showing his nose on the outside, saying, "Yeah, I am here."
Yeah, getting in those wing mirrors and trying to get in the young fella's head.
As we've seen the growth of Rehan over the last couple of years, he's certainly not a driver focused on looking in his mirrors too much. He's very clean on appreciating the gap margin to the car, in front and behind him, having that track awareness of where to put the car to best suit him through, and also not putting himself in a silly position defending too hard where the optimal might be to go through the apex. But you can see him taking the shallower line there while Mike was on the draft. Mike will be able to keep it on the track, but you can see what that's done there with him running wide onto a slightly dirty line where the rubber would have been falling off to the side of the cars going through that corner. With 2 laps to go, and Mike's now fallen well off the back. Well, I wouldn't say well off the back, but off the back of Rehan there to the tune of 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, it might be a little bit too much with only two laps of a circuit that only takes you just over a minute 20 to get around.
Indeed. Fun battle pack there for positions 3, 4, 5 and 6. It's Zachary Vlasblom over Connor Nixon, Logan Barnett and then Bruce Tannock. A little bit further down here we've got Jason Cossey and Jeremy Maxwell continuing their battle from earlier on as one of the Simblex cars in the background took a wee detour. Cole Buchan, he's down in 20th spot there, and about a lap out of sequence. Sean McNamara sitting there now in 11th spot, and teammate ahead of him, Leon Ware, up one spot from where he finished now to get himself into the top 10. So a bit of an averaging out of the points between those two, with Sean finishing 9th in the last race and possibly now 11th in this one, and Leon finishing in 11th and now 10th. So be interesting to see how that championship looks for those guys moving forward. Dan Nolan having a hard charge with Darren Lobb, which is cool to see. And sorry, Corey, you were going to say?
No, I was just going to make a comment on Leon's profile picture there on his TK. It purifies me every time I see it.
It does.
Get some sleep,
we could do that. Just get rid of it. Oh, Leon running a wee bit wide there. Having to really lift out of that. Last lap, the guys are about halfway round now. Rehan's still holding on very strong, a minute and a half gap. Sorry, a second and a half gap back to P2. Connor Nixon wasn't able to do enough to chip away at Zachary in front of him. He's having a good drive and is now being defensive with Logan Barnett behind him, who will be looking at possibly making one last ditch effort in the draft zone here. Get one more spot back towards the front after sitting in P3 for the majority of the race. Rehan comes out of the double right-hander and down the last corner.
I can't hear you. What do you say?
That's a final climb up the hill and across the finish line. Well-deserved win for Rehan. Great racing, great strategy. You have aced it, young man. Well done. Mike Robinson, welcome back. Your style is looking tremendous, and had some great battles there with Rehan through that event. Be interesting to see how he goes moving forward. Zach there, 3rd place. Connor in 4th. Logan 5th, and Bruce Tannock there in 6th. Bruce also another one who will be kicking himself a wee bit from sitting towards the podium position, running wide there earlier on. Blake Greenhall, not Balake Fitte or Blake Whitey, going again for the jump.
Good battle, guys.
Oh, that's to the sky.
No barrel roll and no landing on wheels, mate.
Mr. Hedeshire there in 8th, and Roger Forbett finished 9th. Sean McNamara managing to take back the position of 10, and Leon there dropping back 1 to finish in P11, where he started.
Do you reckon there was some team orders there? You know.
Sorry about that loss.
What have we got here? Sean passing Leon. On the final lap, Leon running wide, Sean getting up the inside there. So that's what took place there. Oh, and yeah, that certainly wouldn't have helped out too much, but then a redress from him behind. So good to see that that sportsmanship there from Brady Scott, realising he made a bit of an error, forcing Leon wide and then allowing him to get back into that position. So great run by all of those guys.
Yeah, that's good sportsmanship, and that's what we want to see. Supercars ends here.
There we go. What a fantastic eve of racing. Dan Nolan with the celebrations down there at the hairpin. He's having some fun. Peter Vanderberg with Misfits Racing, bringing it back round towards pit lane.
The biggest mover of the night, Jeremy Maxwell. He made up 9 spots from where he started to finish 15th.
There we go. There we go. So that's it. Well done to Rehan, Phoenix Racing Team. Great win by you. I'm sure Dad's happy you've sat back and watched you do some great racing. He's obviously feeling comfortable that you don't need as much educating anymore, and he can finally put his feet up and enjoy a nice cold beverage. Mike, it was really cool to see you back out there on track, and I'm looking forward to seeing how some of your battles for the rest of the season is going forward, because with those guys finishing 10 seconds up the field from the next positions behind on what was such a short track, it's going to be very interesting to see who can bring it to either of those two moving forward. But yeah, that was our third round of the All Ports V8s, as well as our Div 1 crew, and this week's sponsorship by Dano, or Dane North Earth there from Dano Sim Support. It's been a great evening once again, Corey. I think I'm still absolutely shattered from Sunday.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me along and filling Shane's boots tonight. I hope I did an alright job. But, yeah, thanks for having me along, and I'll probably be in the third wheel seat for next week.
Yeah, we'll see how we get on. You've done an exemplary job coming along there, mate. I've been happy to have you sitting here beside me, and maybe you can carry on Thursday night by filling Shane's boots by coming out and spinning some GT3 wheels.
Oh, yeah, there might be a bit of a fat chance of that, I think.
Oh, there we go. So, what have we got happening on
It is Phillip Island, so maybe
Thursday?
the favourite track.
Thursday night's MRP race. Oh, so tomorrow night the LMP3s are heading to Phillip Island,
Oh, right, that's where they're going. Ah.
I believe, and the GT3s will be heading to the Hungaroring.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, but won't be not hungry enough for that. But those LMP3s, they sound pretty good at Phillip Island, I reckon.
They're they're a very nifty car, and we've been having some good turnouts for that. So if anything, for ourselves, if we don't end up racing, we should probably look at throwing a broadcast through one evening of these things going round, so to rep the MRP sponsored LMP3s for the season.
That sounds like a good idea, Dougie.
There we go. So we'll see how tomorrow night pans out. We're not calling it off just yet. But other than that, Thursday night, GT3s, end of week, Piston Cup still to come. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Corey, and thank you to those of you who tuned in at home this evening. Have a good evening.